Before we begin, welcome to Book Bite, the place where powerful books become life-changing ideas. And today, we're exploring a Japanese practice so simple that most people completely overlook it. Yet, according to researchers, it may reduce stress, calm the mind, and help restore something modern life has quietly taken away. Imagine walking into a forest for just 20 minutes. No phone, no music, no destination. Just you and the trees. What happens next might surprise you, because hidden among the silence of the forest is a secret that millions of people spend their lives searching for. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why.
Part 2. What exactly is forest bathing? Now, when most people hear the words forest bathing, they imagine something unusual. Maybe sitting under a tree, maybe meditating for hours, or maybe some kind of spiritual ritual. But Shinrin-Yoku is much simpler than that. In fact, the biggest surprise is how little you're actually supposed to do. Because forest bathing isn't about exercise, it's not about hiking, it's not about reaching a destination, and it's definitely not about burning calories. Instead, it's about something most of us have forgotten how to do: simply paying attention. Think about how you normally walk. You're usually going somewhere. Your mind is already focused on what's next, the next task, the next message, the next problem, the next destination. But in a forest, something different happens. For once, there is nowhere you need to be, no one you need to impress, no goal you need to achieve. Just slow down and notice. Notice the sunlight filtering through the leaves. Notice the sound of birds hidden somewhere above you. Notice the smell of damp earth after rain. Notice the feeling of cool air against your skin. For most people, this sounds almost too simple, and that's exactly why they underestimate it. Because we've been trained to believe that everything valuable must be complicated. But the Japanese approach says something completely different. Sometimes healing begins when you stop trying so hard. The goal isn't to use the forest. The goal is to experience it. To let nature enter through all 5 senses. Not through a screen, not through a photograph, not through a documentary, but directly, personally, in real life. And this simple shift changes everything. Because the moment you stop treating nature as a background and start experiencing it fully, your body begins responding in ways that scientists can actually measure. Your heart rate changes, your stress hormones change, even your nervous system begins behaving differently. Which raises an interesting question. If simply walking among trees can do all of that, what's actually happening inside the body? And that's where the science of Shinrin-Yoku becomes truly fascinating.
Part 3. What happens to your body in the forest? So, what actually happens inside your body when you step into a forest? At first, nothing seems different. You're still the same person, walking the same way, breathing the same air. But beneath the surface, your body has already started paying attention. And unlike your conscious mind, your body responds incredibly fast. Think about modern life for a moment. Traffic, deadlines, notifications, crowded spaces, constant noise. Even when you think you're relaxed, your nervous system is often working overtime. Always alert, always scanning, always preparing for the next thing. It's almost as if your body never receives the message that it's safe. And that's exhausting. Because human beings were never designed to stay in a constant state of alertness. We were designed to move between stress and recovery, challenge and rest. But for many people today, recovery never fully arrives. This is where the forest becomes so interesting. Because when you're surrounded by trees, away from noise, away from pressure, your body begins shifting gears. Slowly, naturally,
without any effort from you. Your breathing becomes deeper. Your muscles start releasing tension. Your heartbeat becomes steadier. And little by little, the feeling of urgency begins to fade. You don't force it. It just happens. Almost as if the body recognizes something familiar. Something it has known for thousands of years. And then there's something even more fascinating. Trees release natural compounds into the air. Invisible substances that fill forest environments. You can't see them. You usually can't even notice them. Yet researchers became curious whether these natural compounds might be affecting human health. And what they discovered opened an entirely new conversation between nature and well-being. Suddenly, the forest wasn't just a beautiful place. It was becoming a place that scientists wanted to study. A place where measurable changes were occurring inside the human body. But here's the surprising part. The physical benefits might not even be the most powerful effect. Because while your body is relaxing, something equally important is happening inside your mind. And that's where Shinrin-Yoku becomes truly life-changing. Because the forest doesn't just calm the body, it changes the way we think.
Part 4. The Attention Reset. The greatest benefit of the forest may not be what it does to your body, but what it does to your attention. Because if there's one thing modern life is competing for, it's your focus. Every app wants it. Every notification wants it. Every headline wants it. Every algorithm wants it. Your attention has become one of the most valuable resources in the world. And most of us are giving it away all day long, without even realizing it. Think about what happens when you're online. One notification appears, then another. One video becomes 5. One search becomes 20. Your brain is constantly switching, constantly processing, constantly reacting. And over time, that creates a kind of mental fatigue. Not because you're doing something physically difficult, but because your attention never gets a chance to rest. Now compare that to a forest. The forest doesn't demand your attention, it gently invites it. A bird sings in the distance, you notice it. Sunlight moves through the leaves, you notice that too. A breeze passes by, your attention follows it naturally. Nothing is fighting for your focus. Nothing is trying to keep you engaged. Nothing is trying to sell you something. And that changes everything. Because for perhaps the first time all day, your mind isn't being pulled in 100 different directions. It's simply observing. And when that happens, something remarkable begins to occur. The mental noise starts getting quieter. Not instantly, but gradually, like muddy water settling at the bottom of a glass. The thoughts are still there, but they're no longer crashing into each other. And in that quiet space, many people notice something surprising. They start thinking more clearly. Problems seem less overwhelming. Ideas begin appearing. Solutions feel easier to find. Not because the forest gave them answers, but because the noise finally moved out of the way. That's why so many people report feeling refreshed after spending time in nature. Not because they escaped reality, but because they gave their minds room to breathe. And maybe that's something we've been missing. Because clarity rarely appears when life gets louder. Clarity appears when life becomes quiet enough to hear ourselves again. But the story doesn't end with focus, or stress, or mental clarity. Because beneath all of those benefits, there's something even deeper happening. Something connected to happiness itself. And that's where Shinrin-Yoku reveals its most powerful lesson. A lesson that has very little to do with trees, and everything to do with being human. Part 5. Why nature makes us happier. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, the forest helps the body relax. It helps the mind focus. But why does spending time in nature often feel so good? Why do people leave a forest feeling lighter, calmer, more alive, more like themselves? The answer may have less to do with the forest and more to do with what the forest removes. Think about the last time you felt truly at peace. Not entertained, not distracted, not excited, peaceful.
chances are, it wasn't because something extraordinary happened. It was because, for a moment, nothing was demanding your attention. And that's exactly what nature offers. A rare break from the endless pressure to do more, be more, achieve more, consume more. In a forest, nobody cares how productive you are. The trees don't care about your job title. The birds don't care about your follower count. The wind doesn't care about your unfinished to-do list. Nature asks nothing from you. And that's incredibly rare in the modern world. Because almost every environment around us is designed to get something from us. Our time, our attention, our money, our energy. But the forest, it simply exists. And somehow, that gives us permission to do the same. To stop performing. To stop comparing. To stop chasing. Even if only for a little while. And when that happens, many people experience something psychologists often call awe. A feeling that you're standing in front of something larger than yourself. Maybe it's a giant tree that's been alive for hundreds of years. Maybe it's sunlight breaking through the canopy. Maybe it's the silence itself. Whatever it is, it reminds you of something easy to forget. You are not separate from nature. You are part of it. The same air, the same earth, the same living world. And for many people, that realization brings a deep sense of connection, a sense of belonging, a sense that despite all the noise of life, everything is going to be okay. Because happiness isn't always found by adding more things to our lives. Sometimes, it's found by removing what was getting in the way. And that's the hidden gift of Shinrin-Yoku. Not that it changes the world around you, but that it changes your relationship with it. Which brings us to the final question. How can we bring this practice into our own lives? Because the good news is, you don't need a famous Japanese forest. You don't need special equipment. And you don't need to be an expert. You just need a willingness to slow down.
Part 6, the final lesson. The beauty of Shinrin-Yoku is that anyone can practice it. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need special training. You don't even need a perfect forest. What you need is a willingness to slow down. And perhaps that's the hardest part. Not finding nature, but finding the courage to be still. Because modern life constantly tells us to move faster, do more, consume more, achieve more. But the forest teaches a different lesson. Sometimes the most important step forward is stopping for a moment and simply paying attention to the air you're breathing, to the sounds around you, to the life unfolding quietly in front of you. Maybe that's why so many people leave the forest feeling different. Not because the forest gave them something new, but because it helped them rediscover something they already had. A calmer mind, a quieter heart, a deeper sense of presence. Before we end, I want to leave you with a question. Not a question to answer in the comments, a question to answer for yourself. When was the last time you spent 20 minutes completely present? No phone, no notifications, no distractions. Just you and the world around you. If you can't remember, maybe that's your answer. And maybe that's where your journey begins. So sometime this week, find a park, find a trail, find a single tree if that's all you have, and give yourself permission to slow down. You might be surprised by what you discover. Thank you for spending this time with me, and thank you for being part of Book Bite. If you enjoy exploring ideas that can genuinely change the way you see life, consider subscribing. Not so you can help the channel, but so you don't miss the next idea that might help you understand yourself a little better. Until next time,
take care of your attention, because in the end, your life becomes whatever you choose to notice.